About 1 year ago, I made a video breaking down how I performed against my savings goals for the year of 2020. And then I also put some projections into play about how I was planning to save in 2021. So now being an entire year later, let's see how I tracked against those goals that I had put in place and set some new ones for 2022. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Reese, and in today's video, I am breaking down what I saved in 2021, and I'm going to be comparing that to what I originally set out to achieve in my previous video. Now, before I go into any specific details, I just want to mention that everyone's situation is different. There are many factors which will determine someone's ability to save, and I just want to make it clear that I am reflecting on my own personal goals that I set out to achieve based on my own current living situation and my income sources. And just for context purposes, the savings categories that I'm going to be reviewing include my big savings, which is intended to go towards a property purchase, my emergency fund, because I think it's an important one to talk about, and my investments, which I'll total at the very end of this video just for fun. All of the data used to put today's video together actually came from my very own personal finance spreadsheet. I've actually made another video, which is an in-depth guide into why I use this, how I use it, and how to actually use it yourself, because funnily enough, I've made a copy available for download to anyone who's interested in tracking their finances, kind of taking that next step. It's a bit more revised than my previous one, which I made when I first started my channel earlier, a couple of years ago, really. And yeah, I think it's a really good watch. I think it's something that you might get some insight out of. I think it would be beneficial to anyone, like I said, who wants to take that next step. Feel free to take a copy for yourself, watch that video. It's down in the description below. And if I could just quickly ask you before we get into it, to hit that like and subscribe button. It really does help the channel, and I really do appreciate the support. Okay, so with the formalities out the way, let's start with my big savings account. So as per my previous video, I set the goal to save $36,000 in my big savings account this year, which roughly equates to $700 a week. I actually amped that up a little bit and set a more ambitious goal to $45,000 or $865 a week as the top end of that. So I wanted to save at a very bare minimum $36,000, and I allowed myself to say, all right, let's see if we can go big. Let's get that to $45,000 this year, which is not an insignificant number. And I'm not saying it is a small amount of money whatsoever. It was a very ambitious goal. So across all of my cash accounts, I was surprisingly able to save $893 on average every single week, which equates to roughly $780 when I take out things like bills and all of that and put it straight into my big savings account, which when you do the math, it worked out to roughly $40,500 for the year, which exceeded my $36,000 goal, which is fantastic. Like, tick, very happy with that for savings. That's absolutely insane. I don't know how much longer I'll be able to pull that off, especially as I move into the territory of getting married, having kids, and more expenses come on board. But for the year of 2021, I was able to absolutely obliterate that goal by about $4,500. And interestingly enough, it probably would have been higher, which you'll find out in a moment as to why it wasn't when I start talking about investments. But before we get to investments, let's talk about my emergency fund. Now, in my emergency fund, I upped the amount I was putting from 2020 into 2021. I was putting $25 a fortnight in 2020. I upped that to $50 a fortnight, where that was the goal at a minimum, to put $50 a fortnight, so $25 a week, into that account over the entire year. On occasion, if I worked overtime, which I did in my previous role, I generally would put a little bit more money into that to build up that buffer initially, because I only started with like $1,000 in the account when I originally started it. I think it was 1,000. Might have been 2,000. However, now that it's at a bit of a more stable scenario, I'm definitely easing off on putting extra funds towards it, because I'm putting money towards other things like investing and saving for property, what have you. I'm quite happy with the number that's in my emergency fund. I feel quite good with that number that's in there, and I don't need to bump it up too quickly. It would definitely last me a good 3 to 6 months if I needed to make do in a scenario where I was to lose my job, for example, or something terrible were to happen where I had to access those funds. It generally will cover those expenses in the short term. So at the start of the year, I had about $4,400 in that bank account, where I've now managed to put $50 consistently every single fortnight into it, and it's sitting at $5,750, which, if you do the math, $1,350 was roughly what was going to go into that account, and that is exactly what has gone into that account. This goal overall wasn't that hard to achieve, but nonetheless, goal achieved because I had set it and I have achieved it, and I wanted to reflect on that in today's video. I also think it's really important to talk about over time. Realistically, this account in particular started off very small, and now it's starting to get to a point that is a quite sizable sum. I'm quite happy with the amount of money in there, like I just mentioned. I think it's important to talk about it because it shows the compound effect. Me just mindlessly taking $50 every time I'm paid and putting it in that account over the last 3 years or so has really started to add up, and into the future as well, it's just going to do the same thing, assuming I don't need to touch it because I've got other systems in place before I need to resort to using my emergency fund. And I've actually made a video talking about why I think it's important to have an emergency fund. I'm sure that this is a saturated topic online, but if you want to listen to my take, I've left a link down in the description below. Feel free to check that video out after this one. It's a bit of an older video. Don't judge the quality. Pretty please. I was learning, and I still am learning every day. Now, investments don't really count as savings, but I am counting them because I used the money that I saved to purchase these investments. And I kind of think that if I hadn't purchased these investments, they would just be sitting in my house account anyway. So that money was purposed for something that should help me build wealth over time. So I wanted to include it in today's video. I think it's important to talk about as well, because realistically, I had to save the money to be able to buy the shares that I purchased and buy the cryptocurrency that I purchased. So I'm including it in this video. My goal for 2021 was to put a minimum of $12,000 between shares and crypto, spread relatively evenly, but I hadn't set a defined parameter as to how I broke that money up. Across the year, in terms of shares, I purchased $2,500 worth of VAS, which is an Australian ticker for a diversified ETF. And I also bought $2,500 worth of VDHG, which is a more aggressive ETF for faster growth, basically. That's pretty much it. It's kind of standard since I started investing, and at the moment is probably going to remain pretty similar based on, again, other expenses coming into my life, but I'm trying to stick to a minimum of $5,000 a year to begin with. That hopefully will increase over time into the share market, but at the moment, that's what I'm sticking with, and I was able to achieve that. And then I went a little bit crazy with cryptocurrency. Now, I've made some videos that have done really well on the channel in regard to cryptocurrency, and I think that they were half decent. I haven't gone too crazy with crypto videos because I'm not a crypto channel in general. I talk about anything finance that kind of I'm doing that I believe is worthwhile, and funnily enough, crypto for me has been quite good this year, and I'm going to talk a bit more about it in just a moment. I just want to make it very clear. I think crypto, in terms of an investment, early days still, there's plenty potential for growth. I think for people who are just passively investing a little bit of money here and there, I think over the long term, they will do all right, assuming that the coins or tokens they're investing in don't crash unbelievably and uncontrollably. Disclaimer, I guess, that I need to throw in there is just be careful with what you're investing in and only invest money you're willing to lose before I go into the numbers, which I'm about to talk about now. So this year I invested about $10,000 of my own money into cryptocurrency outside of what I had already purchased, which you may have seen in previous videos. Now, I purchased $5,000 of Ethereum at a time before it went absolutely crazy. Think of a 1 in front of the total value of a single Ethereum token at the time that I purchased it. We're talking roughly $1,000 to $2,000, somewhere in that realm, USD. Since then, the cryptocurrency has performed quite well. I'm quite happy with the return on that investment. The other purchases that I made was on Cardano. I purchased $2,500 of ADA. I again am quite happy with how it has performed. I got in at a time that was quite good before quite a large boom that has kind of remained steady. Very happy with the returns on those coins in particular. And then I invested about $2,500 into some random punts that I believed would do well, and most of them are in the green. And the ones that aren't in the green are ones that I'm going to hold for quite a long time anyway. So overall, invested $10,000 across cryptocurrency in total, and all of them have given me quite significant returns. Even the ones that I've taken profits for and the ones that I haven't taken profits for, I'm in the green. And that's a really exciting thing to be talking about because I know crypto is up and down every day, but it's, just as a reflection, I'm really glad that I pulled the trigger to be able to invest in a couple of the ones that I truly believe in, being Ethereum, VeChain, Cardano as simple examples. And I don't want to tell people to go and invest their money into crypto, but having a little bit of skin in the game definitely is something that is worth considering. So in total, for my investments into both crypto and shares, I spent $15,000 this year, which exceeded my $12,000 goal by about $3,000. Like I said, I went a little bit overboard, but you can see how if I hadn't bought that extra $3,000 of crypto, it would have been in my big savings and I would have been really close to that $45,000 mark. That just goes to show how I can project what I'm going to be able to save based on my percentage system, which I talk about in previous videos, how I allocate my wage, and I basically have the ability to project using my spreadsheet and all of the data that I collect. I was pretty much bang on from my video last year talking about what I wanted to save in 2021. Just saying, like, it's pretty damn good being able to do those projections and now see it on paper when I look at my bank accounts. It's awesome. So in conclusion, at the beginning of January 2021, I had $82,494 sitting in my bank account ready to go. I was able to save up to $128,000 by building up those savings across the year, and I was able to invest a further $15,000 into my crypto and shares portfolio. So simply put, I was able to save $61,436 across both all of my cash accounts and my investments that I had put into both crypto and the share market. Now, today's video, the entirety of today's video is to show the plan that went into place over a year ago based on my income sources, how I track my finances, and what I know I'm capable of doing based on my lifestyle, my spending habits. All of that information, which comes from my spreadsheet, which I talked about earlier, it shows how that plan is executed and how now looking back at it a year later going, holy crap, I was actually able to achieve that goal. And even better, the best thing about it is the projections that I originally set out to achieve were pretty much bang on accurate. I made a projection based on what I knew I could do, and I was able to exceed that goal by a small margin based on other sources of income coming into play throughout the year, maybe a bonus from work here and there, things like that. Overall, the point that I really wanted to just make in today's video is that this is totally possible for anyone who wants to set up some type of savings plan, and the number doesn't matter. It comes down to what you put in place based on what you're able to actually achieve, and then stick to the plan that you've set out to achieve. I talk about it in so many of my videos. I talk about methods, I talk about things that are important to understand, things that are important to do, tools that I use. That's what this channel is about. And if anything, this reflection today for me personally shows that what I'm doing seems to be working, and I will continue doing it into the future. Now, I will be making another video talking about how I actually saved that $61,000, showing the breakdown of the methods I put in place to achieve that. And I will be making a video based on what I'm planning to save in 2022. So if you are interested, feel free to hit that subscribe button and stick around until that video does get released for your eyeballs only. And that's pretty much all I have for you today. Drop me a comment down below if you have any questions. I'm pretty attentive and able to answer them as fast as I possibly can, really. And that's pretty much it. I hope that today was insightful. I hope it maybe gave you some motivation to give this a go. And overall, I suggest that you use some of the things I talk about on my channel if you do watch these videos and implement them into your own life, because the outcome, if you've made it this far into the video, the outcome will be you achieving those goals in terms of what you're trying to save, what you're trying to invest into different asset classes, all of that information. That's what this channel is all about, and I hope that you're getting some insight and value from watching my videos. With that being said, I hope you have a good day. I hope you have a good week. It's actually Christmas at the time of recording this video. I'm just a few days out, so have a Merry Christmas for the year if you are someone who celebrates Christmas, and that's pretty much it. I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.